朋友们，大家好，咱们接着分享杰弗里·萨克斯教授接受采访的第二部分。当主持人提到拜登政府很有可能会给新政府挖个大坑，留个陷入冲突的烂摊子给特朗普时，萨克斯教授猛烈抨击了拜登政府是美国现代历史上最糟糕的一届政府，是一场令人震惊的彻头彻尾的灾难，完全不懂外交的艺术，完全不愿与他国沟通，并直指这个世界之所以动荡不安，都是由美国在后面拱火。他在上一季的谈话中提到韦斯利·克拉克的7国名单，这个背景是这样的：韦斯利·克拉克曾是美国陆军4星上将，2000年退役，退役前曾担任北约的欧洲盟军最高司令。克拉克将军在2007年的一次采访中讲述了一段经历。他声称在2001年911事件后不久，他访问五角大楼时得知，美国计划在未来数年内针对7个国家发起军事行动。这些国家分别是伊拉克、叙利亚、黎巴嫩、利比亚、索马里、苏丹和伊朗。克拉克表示，这些国家是计划中的目标，以削弱和推翻他们的政府为目的。他这段描述在当时引发了不小的讨论和争议，许多人认为这揭示了美国在中东和北非地区的战略意图。所以萨克斯教授说，这个7国名单里有6个已经完成，只剩伊朗了。看来伊朗终究会难逃厄运，但伊朗现在背后又有中俄，这就是萨克斯教授非常不安的原因。不单是中东，萨克斯教授还提到近期一系列出了奇怪状况的国家，甚至包括韩国这次匪夷所思的动乱，后面都有美国的身影。说实话，这还是我第一次听到有人这么确凿地说，韩国这个事儿后面也是美国在搞鬼。
I've never felt more uneasy than I have in the last few weeks during this period between the election and the inauguration. And it does, what doesn't seem like it is a fact, that the outgoing administration is trying to accelerate conflict to leave the incoming administration in charge of a bunch of different wars, especially with Russia.
I have to say, I think the Biden administration has been the worst of our governments in modern history. And that's saying a lot because I'm a complainer, so I don't generally I don't generally praise administrations. Yeah. Like to think of myself as a responsible, tough grader, and I haven't given high marks to any administration from Clinton onward. I think they've all been failures. But Biden's administration has been a complete, shocking disaster, which has brought us closer to nuclear war, brought us into more conflict, didn't have one iota of diplomacy. I don't count diplomacy meaning you go talk to a junior ally. I mean diplomacy meaning you talk to someone on the other side to figure out how
to appear
not
power.
To escalate.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know, you know very well, and you heard it recently from the Russian foreign minister, that our Secretary of State and the Russian foreign minister have not spoken at all for years. This is the most mind-bogglingly stupid approach to our security and survival imaginable. And as far as we know, and this is what Lavrov said in his interview with you, Biden and Putin have not spoken once since February 2022. It's just unbelievable. To not even speak, to not try to understand each other's position, to not discuss, to not try to find a way out, when now the most accurate assessment is that there are at least 1 million Ukrainians dead or severely wounded since February 2022, and the United States hasn't lifted a finger, not even one time, to try to talk to the other side. So yes, this has been a shockingly terrible government. Biden, we don't know really. You may know, I don't know whether he's compos mentis. I don't know whether the guy thinks. I'm told till 4 p.m. he can still function to some extent. I don't know if it's true. But Jake Sullivan, Antony Blinken, I regard as complete failures. Sullivan's job is our security. He's not made us any more secure. He's made us profoundly insecure. And we're getting closer and closer to nuclear war. And the only way we avoid that realization is to laugh away every statement, and President Putin said it again today, by the way, that we are absolutely mocking Russia's serious red lines. Is that really for our security that we don't have a discussion about them even? And we're not. And everything, yes, is escalating. We see little fires being set all over the neighborhoods of these war zones. And it's not only throughout the Middle East and the drumbeat for war with Iran. It's not only Biden authorizing the use of long-distance strikes into Russia, which, as President Putin has accurately said and has not been denied by the United States, are actually U.S. strikes on Russia. But this is incredible. How would we feel if Russia were attacking the United States? Would we say...
And trying to kill the president, which
yes,
we are trying to kill Putin right now.
Would we say, that's just fine? Don't worry if Americans are getting a little upset about that. But that's literally what Biden has approved. And then we see hotspots around. You have to be, really into this to be following them. But in the country of Georgia, in the South Caucasus region, there's a little typical regime change maneuver that's been underway in recent weeks. It will not succeed, but the aim was to destabilize that region. The hand of the U.S. is absolutely clear in that. We see in Romania another bizarre episode where a presidential election was in its second round, and the lead candidate was saying we should end the war with Ukraine. And the Supreme Court of Romania annulled the election, claiming Russian interference. And so that candidate that was calling for peace could not win election. We're seeing those kinds of events all over.
What are we seeing in South Korea?
In South Korea, of course, we saw something that we don't understand that's also mind-boggling, which was an attempted coup by the president of Korea, President Yoon, who called out the military to surround and arrest the parliament. And ultimately, the coup failed and the president was thrown out of office. But why he made that coup is not absolutely clear. And the U.S. reaction was bizarre. The U.S. said, we're watching with concern. That was all. It didn't say anything about restore the constitutional order or we're against the coup or anything else. And there was a glimmer of possible reason. I don't want to overstate any certainty on this because this is, of course, also not analyzed properly or made public, so we don't have the information. But the week before the military action, the coup attempt, there was a visit by the Ukrainian defense minister for armaments from South Korea, something that the United States has been pushing very hard for. The United States has been trying to get South Korea to ship arms to Ukraine because the U.S. Inventories are depleted. And South Korea, under its law, cannot do so because it cannot ship arms to belligerents that are engaged in war. And the parliament opposed it. The parliament president does not have a majority in the parliament, or the former president, and the opposition opposed the armaments. So there's some possible relationship with this, that when Yoon declared martial law, he said that that the opposition was siding with the North Koreans. That was his statement. And some read that as a way to clear the way for South Korea to enter the Ukraine war with massive arms shipments. I don't know whether that's the case, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. Maybe we'll find out. It happens that the acting president was my first PhD student at Harvard. Now, so I go back with him 44 years, which is nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, just a coincidence.
So, that's amazing. I meant to ask you, why did Russia stand aside as Assad fell?
I think that it was first of all, a military choice, because Russia is in the midst of a very tough war along a 1,200 kilometer front in Ukraine, and it did not want to divert any major military effort in that direction. Second, the proximate reason why Assad fell was that the main military backing of Assad was Hezbollah forces and the Iranian Guard, and they had both been, especially Hezbollah, had been very badly mauled by Israel in the last month and a half, and had pulled its reinforcements from Syria to reinforce Lebanese positions. And so Assad was left without the backing of Hezbollah forces, several thousand, which was the bulwark of his military. I think a third reason is that Russia doesn't think it's leaving Syria, that this isn't the end of the story. And immediately the supposed new force in Syria, the HTS, said that it wants Russia to stay and to keep its bases in Syria. Russia has a naval base, and a small one, and an airfield, and Russia has redeployed its forces from within Syria to both of those bases, but is probably not leaving. So I think from probably a strategic calculus, Russia just regards this as a temporary step on a path to continued conflict, and that this was not the time to get into another major front.
Yes,
and that would be my assessment.